Welcome back to another edition of the Night Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again are my co-hosts, Richie O'Leary and Alec Krauthamel, and special guest, the one and only Larry K of Night Watch. Uh, man, what a weird day. It is the first day of the year, and it is officially the worst day of the year so far for Rutgers athletics. Let's just recap the last 24 hours. We had to watch a Corey Heatherman-led defense starring Mohamed Toure advance to the semifinals of the CFP, also led by a Shiano disciple and Mario Cristobal. We had to watch our once little brother this morning, Indiana, who we've won our last three meetings with, who has the worst record in college football history, make it to the semifinal as well. And then today, in what we were told was an unlikely occurrence, Ian Strong decided to enter the transfer portal despite a hefty offer from the Scarlet Knights on the table. And we had a bunch of other news drop as well, but that's just kind of like the high notes of the day. Kobe Asamoah and Tyler Needham also announced their return. I think that was a bit of a counter spin on the PR department. But before we get into any of that, I want to shout out our sponsor, FanDuel. Had a pretty good day today. Unfortunately, the one bet I gave out kind of yesterday didn't hit. I don't have anything yet for this weekend, but I want to shout out our sponsor, FanDuel. I do like Indiana's chances of beating Oregon in the semifinal. They're a 3.5-point favorite right now, so that's one bet I'm giving out. Man, vibes right now are not very high with the football program as the portal opens tomorrow. Larry, I'll let you start since you're our guest. What's your kind of high-level thoughts? How are you feeling right now with the news of the last 24 hours?
Look, I was skeptical after the season ended that we'd be able to keep what I referred to as kind of the big three on offense with Raymond, Duff, and Strong. There was so much out there where people were saying, look, the vibe feels good. I think if Strong does leave, it's for the draft, not a transfer portal thing. I don't know if he's ready for the draft, so maybe he comes back. And where I am right now, getting that news today, it was unexpected. First of all, it's kind of New Year's Day. You're hanging out. You're not paying much attention other than to the college football playoff. And you get hit with that. And you're just like, okay, what happened? Is there some kind of internal conflict? What was the situation? Are we once again struggling for money? That doesn't appear to be the case. What's going on internally? I'm more concerned maybe about some of the, I know we can't read into too much of the social media, especially this day and age, but some of these guys who are outgoing players, defensive players, like some of the weird vibes around the team seems odd. I'm not feeling great, obviously, about losing a guy like Strong because, look, you get a guy who Shiano spoke very highly of, who you develop, who's an integral part of the program, who's everything you want to build your program around. Long Island kid, not from far away, comes in and is dominant. Plays tough, plays through some injury, and you offer him. I'll let you guys speak to what we hear, but you make an offer, and he says, no thanks, I'm out. And what's bothering me is, you haven't heard one way or the other from some of these other major pieces. I understand we haven't heard they're leaving, but we haven't heard they're staying. Needham and Asamoah, I'm thrilled that they announced. I didn't even realize Needham really had that extra year of availability, so eligibility. I'm happy about it. But the fact they did announce shows people can announce if they'd like to. We haven't heard anything from the other big two. I'm not as worried about Raymond just because of the way we're able to feature a running back. You have a lot to gain by being the premier back at Rutgers, especially with the two guys that preceded you and the way we want to play football. But KJ Duff scares me because you look out into this college football landscape, there's a ton of teams that are contenders, a ton of teams with money to throw around, and a ton of teams who can feature you or half feature you, get you the ball, and put you on a highlight reel for everybody to see. And look, guys, that goes beyond just NFL scouts now. That's branding. That's money right now. So I don't know. I'm not feeling great regarding that. Also, and you guys have talked about it, but I know we might have a DC lined up, maybe, hopefully, who's currently tied up in the NFL, but we don't have that hired yet. And so this program, when you see what seems to be a ceiling with 2 seasons where we had great opportunities and we couldn't cash in the win-loss column, And now we're looking for the DC again. We might have to got a cornerback leaving. Now are we going to they weren't good, but you don't want to lose everybody. So I'm kind of sitting on bated breath and hoping we get some happy announcements soon, because I don't want to hear like defection after defection. It's going to really get me down on the program. That's where I am.
How about you, Alec? High level, how you feeling right now after the last 24 hours of news?
I think messed up. Go back to 2025. Let's. I think 2026
This year
might be right.
sucks. This is
No,
terrible.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, this one, it always seemed like Strong always seemed like the likeliest of the three that would depart. To me at least, I know maybe some other people disagree, but to me at least, but I always thought it was either the draft or going back to Rutgers, which I think is what many people thought as well. I really did not see the transfer portal in his future, but I guess it kind of makes sense if, well, that's also the case that he goes in the portal every time on college football. It's funny how those things work. But yeah, I mean, I guess if he doesn't feel like his draft stock isn't in a place where it would like, he wants to maximize his chance to raise that stock elsewhere. And I mean, if he doesn't feel confident in where the team is headed this year, then that's obviously not a great sign. Where he doesn't want to leave anything up to chance to make sure his draft stock is as high as it can be, and then obviously getting a higher pay to is nice, a nice bonus as well. But I feel like, when it comes to his draft stock, he wants to make sure it's in as secure of a spot as possible, and obviously it's not a great sign if he doesn't feel like that's at Rutgers.
Let's finish it off, Rich. How are you feeling after this day of mostly bad news?
I mean, for starters, like the one time I like get ready to leave the house all day, like I was staying home, I was doing some stuff, going here and there, like writing some stuff, reaching out to some agents, talking to people. And then the minute I fucking leave the house, this happens. Right now, in terms of feeling, I feel like I got pushed in the street, got kicked in the nuts, got ran over by a car. The guy reversed, decided to hit me again, and then did it one more time just for fun. Like it just is like the biggest blow to like Rutgers football in the moment. That's your star receiver. That's the guy you built up from scratch. This kid was going to Bucknell before he ended up at Rutgers. He was going to Bucknell to play safety before he came to Rutgers. Came to Rutgers, developed him into a really good player, NFL caliber player. And yeah, it is what it is at this point. What are you going to do?
I think that's the thing and if you notice on the boards today, when this news broke, I've never seen a thread grow this fast that wasn't a game thread. Like this thread now has been alive for, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours. I'm just guessing. It's at like 13 pages. It is just every time I look at it, it's ballooning outwards even more. Rutgers, for all of its faults, have done a really good job of keeping the guys that they want to keep for the most part. And you could mention like a guy like Mohamed Toure, but that's a guy who's going to be in year 7. He had, more than done his share of, he's clearly a Rutgers man, but I feel like everybody expected Rutgers to be able to hold on to these homegrown kids. And Ian Strong, being a St. Anthony's kid, growing up so close to Rutgers, like you said, Richie, he wasn't really a high-level prospect. Rutgers took him largely, I think everyone could agree for the most part, he was not as highly rated as he should have been. Like that was immediately evident, his first few months on campus. But I think there's a lot of not backlash, but apathy, I guess, at this point, where fans are just like, oh, so this is what it feels like to be a college football fan in 2026, where, the guys that you grew up, but saw grow in front of your eyes are now leaving for a bigger, bag of money, because from what Richie's reported, he had a 7-figure offer on the table. I think it's a little bit more nuanced than just that he wasn't offered the biggest bag from Rutgers. I think there are multiple layers of this that we weren't really privy to until today that have kind of exposed themselves. Like he has one more year to increase his draft stock. Like if, when we had Trevor Sikkema on in September, he was super high on Ian Strong. This is coming off the Iowa performance. He had, a red hot start to the year. He got a little banged up, which did ding him a bit with his stock. You saw KJ Duff go supernova over the back half of the season. So that kind of took the shine off of him a bit. So I think he does need this extra year, this 4th year, to kind of solidify his draft stock. And plus, like, with today's day and age, like unless you have that high grade, there's no reason to go into the portal because you're going to make more money in college than you would in the NFL as a 4th-round pick. So you just don't do that unless you get the grade that you want. But I think there's a lot of disillusionment in the fan base right now. Like, I think a lot of fans are just like kind of like, fuck this. Like, why even be a fan anymore? Because, Rich, you've reported this. Rutgers held on to Kyle Monungai when he got offered a ton more to leave. Rutgers held on to Holland Pierce when they got offered a ton more to leave. And Rutgers fans loved them for sticking around, and it wasn't well reported. Like, we didn't have like the numbers necessarily about what they were getting offered elsewhere in the moment, but we figured it out afterwards. And, one of those guys had an offer of 8 times the amount that he decided to stay on at Rutgers for because, he was being developed here. He had, he knew what he was getting into rather than, going elsewhere. And it was a different time, let's just say. But there's just, I don't know. I think these things kind of build on one another. We saw last year with how the defensive coordinator search was bungled, and then that cascaded into another down year, another season that didn't meet our expectations. And now we're at a month without a defensive coordinator. We have 2 defensive coaches. And now the eve of the portal, when you think, okay, these things, we've held off the scavengers at the gate. These guys are going to stick around. Like, we're not the type of program that needs these I'm back posts. We lose arguably our most important player on the roster. So,
by the way, I was going to say, just for fact checking sake, the thread is currently at, let me just refresh, 20,000 views, 446 replies, 12 pages. So yes, that's
Wow.
I can verify. Not many threads that are not game thread instant reaction stuff has blown up quite like that.
Yeah, so it's a freaking holiday. I get people are home, but like I think this could be an inflection point in the Rutgers fan base that if things don't go, not even to plan, but if we don't have what we can deem a successful season next year, like I think anything's on the table, because I think Rutgers fans put this blind faith in Greg because he was seemingly the only guy who could get things done at Rutgers, because historically that's factually correct. But I think given the leadership we have in place and the understanding of how you need to do certain things to win, I don't think that we need to live in this blind faith place anymore, because Greg, he's done a lot of good things here, but he needs to prove to us this season that he can win in 2026, because, a lot of these decisions they decide they don't want to pay the market rate for these players. Rich, you reported today that Strong might not have liked the offer he got from Rutgers. So I'll let you, because I've said a lot of things that you've reported, I'll let you talk a little bit more about the situation and how we got to this point.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start. They had significant offers they have significant offers on the table for 2 of the 3 still. They had a significant offer for Ian Strong. They offered him 7 figures. Like, that's over $1 million. Like, he was going to be well compensated. They have the money. Like, it's not a money issue anymore. They have enough money to pay their top guys right now. The feeling is a couple things. Number one, his agent feels he can get a lot more in the portal, which every agent basically says that to every single kid. Even if you're, and I don't want to pick on him too much, but like Carter Cadow, I'm sure his agent's probably like, dude, you can go elsewhere and still get $100K or whatever you were making at Rutgers. Just throwing a number. I don't know what he was making exactly. But not only the money factor, like is it a little bit of a factor? Yes, it plays a slight decision. But at the end of the day, he also is questioning the quarterback a little bit too. And that's where people are going to take this and say, oh, look, he doesn't trust AJ Surace. AJ Surace is going to stink. That's not true. It's more of, he has 1 year left. He needs to make sure he has a good enough quarterback that can get him the ball constantly. Now, he's seen AJ in practice. He's worked with AJ in practice. He's worked with AJ out of practice and just throwing the ball. But it's just very risky to trust a guy that's played maybe combined 30 snaps total between 2 seasons now. So it's just a little bit risky from his point of view. There's also been a lot of talk that a Big Ten school's after him. I don't know what Big Ten school it is. Could be, I know, Mike, you speculate at Michigan. I know someone else on the board said Indiana. I don't know if they
USC would make a ton of sense.
USC, like, they're all pass heavy offenses. Like, So well, maybe not Michigan, but who knows what Michigan's going to be? I don't even know
But
anymore.
they need a big receiver to help Bryce Underwood out, which is
exactly
arguably their biggest need in the portal. So that's what them.
So between the money, between the AJ thing, that's basically it.
It's Oregon. I don't know who
I
is.
I don't think Oregon would do it.
Ross Douglas is their wide receiver coach.
That's true.
That. I don't. Ross Douglas hasn't coached here in 4 years though.
But Ian Strong's been here for 3 years. I don't know if he was there with Ross Douglas. No, I don't think he was. I don't think Ross Douglas was here when Ian Strong was here. But regardless, it's between those two things. It's probably more so the quarterback than anything else. He needs to make sure he has a quarterback that can get him the ball and that's going to be able to not develop him because they're already kind of developed. I think he's already, if you're being honest, I think he kind of peaked at Rutgers. But you put up, and I said this to you guys off the pod, you put up 750 yards at Rutgers, you put up 750 yards at Michigan. You're getting drafted higher at Michigan just for the sole fact it's Michigan. Yeah. There's a little stink on Rutgers, like in terms of players. Like look at Kyle Monungai. The guy put up crazy amounts of yards. Still got drafted in the 7th round. Now part of that's because of his speed issue. But then at the end of the day, you should have probably went a little bit higher than that too. Like it's just
this is after a late round running back had way more success in Isaiah Pacheco than anyone would have expected based on his draft position. Yeah.
So NFL potential, quarterback are the two main factors at play. It sounds like it more so is the quarterback issue, but and it's not a knock on AJ because like I've talked to people that have talked to even Ian himself about this and everything, and they basically just keep saying like it's like AJ has all the potential in the world. He has the potential to be a damn good quarterback. It's just very risky to trust a guy has never started a game, has played very limited snaps, and they're almost always in garbage time. And even when they're in garbage time, some of them are just handoffs. Like he's thrown 7 passes in his career. It's just way too risky.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing here. It's not that AJ Sarace is, bad, obviously. I don't think it's time to, ring the alarm bells on AJ Sarace. Obviously not. We are at January 1st. But I think he's just looking for something more proven. And obviously AJ Sarace is not that. So I don't know how much this affects Rutgers elsewhere. I think it could both help and hurt with retaining KJ Duff. I don't know if it really relates much with Antoine Raymond, but I don't foresee Rutgers' perception of Sarace and of if they target a quarterback in the portal. I don't think this really changes all that much, even if it sounds like it. At least to me, I don't know what you guys think.
And Mike, I want to go back to the point you made. I think it's really relevant. You said fans are going to start having an inflection point right now. I just want to reiterate that after not last season, the season before, where I thought we fell well short of expectations given our roster and our schedule, I think what helped me together and strung together some sustained optimism about the trajectory of the program was I was astounded that Greg was able to keep so much talent on the team and so much cohesion, and continuity on the team. And it was with keeping these guys that he had developed because there was supposedly this loyalty and this culture. And if that starts to fray, I mean, it's expected because every program has it, but that was the problem at Rutgers is if you have some success and it happens, it's the cost of doing business. But if that's all you have to keep you clinging to hope or to hang your hat on as far as the cohesion of this regime and this coaching staff, and that starts to fray, then what do you really have? Because if you're not winning, and because you're not winning, you're not retaining your homegrown guys, and that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, where is the program going at all? This team on the field has got to do better, and I think even this season, there were opportunities left out on the field again. And I don't know if that's Richie's reporting is obviously it's more forward looking and that makes sense. But I also think overall as a fan base, to go back to what you said, you got to start getting some results because these guys are here playing their hearts out, spinning their wheels. Now they're getting offered money. And now it's about, hey, I can go somewhere and be a real contender. There's a ceiling at Rutgers. I don't know what it is, but there's a ceiling here. I got to go somewhere where I could get more exposure, more certainty, play in, better opportunity to go deeper into a college playoff run or a bowl game. And, these are the things that I think really do wear on a fan base. So I just thought it was a good point. And I think that one thing we were hanging our hats on is starting to fray and it doesn't feel good. We'll see though. Let's see if they keep the other two. I mean,
Yeah, I agree. And we have other friend of the show, David Anderson, also joining us now. Thanks for hopping on, David. Well, we'll let you give your high-level thoughts here before we continue the conversation. What are your high-level thoughts on kind of the last 24 hours as living in the body of a Rutgers fan?
Well, again, I guess it's good to see that the Big Ten won 2 of 3 in the playoffs. So at least you can sell that. Ohio State being obviously kind of a weird one, but I know it's still something we joke about. But remember, Rutgers is still on a 3-game winning streak against Indiana. I don't know how many teams can say that right now.
for now, until
So
for
there's
9
that.
months at least. Yeah.
I think when you look at something like Ian Strong's departure, it was kind of a roller coaster ride all season because he starts out and he does so well that and you guys probably said this already, but he starts out and you're like, all right, this guy's going to the league. That's what it's going to be. Then he gets injured, which is probably the worst thing that could have happened to us as a fan base because you already had this mindset of like, well, we're going to need KJ Duff, some of the younger guys, Ice Cup or Michael Thomas or Ben Black, any of these guys to play next year. But we should have Duff back. Strong's gone. But now Duff's emerging, and we're like, all right, well, if we lose Strong, we're still okay as long as we have Duff. And you never want to see your best players walk out the door because, I mean, Ian Strong is probably the best player on the team, right? He's the only guy, if the NFL draft was tomorrow, that was eligible, would be, a top maybe 100, 125 pick at all. So it's like you don't want to see your good players going out the door, but we're kind of shifting into this mindset like in the NFL where it's like, well, if a guy leaves at a position that we have depth and he costs more than we're willing to pay, the whole, and it's overused cliche, but Moneyball thing, it's like, well, we might be able to replace him and potentially better use that money elsewhere. But the bigger question is like, what is the feeling in that locker room? Because that's how we felt as fans for the last 4 months, where we're like, all right, well, he's probably going to the league anyway, and we have some other guys. We're a new quarterback, but Rich, or Alec, you guys are the closest to the locker room. Like, without being there, you don't really know. And so that's kind of the biggest roller coaster. But you guys are going to have to catch me up if anything happened in the last 30 minutes that I missed, because
no more departures.
I had to make sure my wife didn't enter the transfer portal, so I had to.
That sounds like a Steve Pikel'ism if I've ever actually no, it is one because I've heard it like 5 times now.
True.
Yeah,
Jeez.
I mean, I hope this doesn't sound as cope, but I do want to bring this up at some point, so might as well bring it now. Like, the wide receiver room is the deepest position on the team. I don't think there's any argument there. We've seen flashes from a lot of young guys who might have left if they didn't have one of these 2 spots open up. So I don't want it to sound like this isn't a massive loss, because losing Ian Strong is something that, ask anybody in the Hale Center, ask any Rutgers fan, 9 out of 10 are going to say it's absolutely a loss if he moved on. So I don't want to make it sound like this is a good thing, but I do think it could help us retain some younger players who now have a bigger opportunity to stay and show their skills, who have a better skill set than Ian Strong. Because while he does have elite hands and elite body positioning, like he's not the fastest guy, he's a big-bodied receiver, but I don't know. I'm not, again, this is a loss. This is a big loss. But is there any shade of like this might end up in a year we look back and like this might have been for the best for all parties involved because we were able to use the $1 million?
Absolutely.
It could, for sure.
It could. I mean, let me just finish, because it's something we talk about a lot, right? I tell you guys it's super important. It's always important at every level of the offense and defense that the younger guys see a path to playing time. And if you came back into the season with Strong, Duff, and let's say a transfer receiver like another Dymere Miller, guys might be walking out the door. They might not be as focused. They might feel like, why did I come here? It's tougher to sell in recruiting, right? Like, you have the guys are going to be motivated if they see a path. And that's why a year from now, that could be what ended up happening. But that's still a big risk, Mike, right? Like, literally your best player this past year.
Yeah. Like, nobody is saying, see ya, like we're packing your bag for you. Everybody wants Ian Strong back. But
Right.
Given the reality of the situation, is there a path that it might have worked for all parties? I think there is one. And I don't like a lot of people are saying, hell, the spin, lose the NFL caliber receiver so we can pay a high 3-star. It's always a loss when you lose an NFL caliber skill set. I 100% agree. That's not the point. The point is there a path that this is actually best for all parties? And I think there is, but it's still a huge loss. Like I don't want this to happen. Nobody here wants this to happen, but
Mike,
the reality is it's happening.
Yeah, look, I think you got to also look. There were some guys who entered the portal earlier who had a lot of potential, we thought, or didn't live up to it for injuries or for whatever reason, rooms got crowded. You got to look at this also. There's no salary cap, obviously, but there's an allotment of money you have to spend. And I thought some guys could have been cap casualties, right? Because you bring them in on transfer portals or as high star recruits, they're getting paid something. This isn't the case with Strong. So again, like Mike said, to reiterate, I'm not happy. I wish we would have kept him. He was worth the 7 figures. But now you have 7 figures to either spend out a little bit more to keep guys or to go spend on another position. It's not about saying we would be better off, but it's about saying what's done is done. Schiano's always saying you got to move forward. I'm not trying to sit here and be Mr. Optimist because that's not me and that's not my role in this community. But you can take that money because there is a limited and finite amount of money, and you can put it somewhere where that room, if, and it's a huge if, you can keep Duff, and if AJ is what you think he's going to be, and you can keep Raymond, there's a lot of guys who can step up and play a role in that offense and can do well. And now you have money to put somewhere, maybe at the defensive side of the ball, maybe along the line. I don't know. So there is a world where in a year, we say, wow, look, good thing we had that money, and it turned out okay because we were able to weather the storm with another player. I do think there's a world where we'll say that.
I do think it's also important to kind of like question, like, what does this mean for KJ Duff? Because KJ Duff, obviously, we had somebody say you lose your best player off a 5-7 team. It's a big loss. I don't think he was the best player last year. I think KJ Duff, by the end of the year, was the better player. I think you could argue that Antoine Raymond was the better player. There's certainly like a big 3 and then everyone else, especially for returning players. They were talked about as like brotherly close. Like there was an interview, I think, in the preseason where, it was either KJ Duff would come back from practice and Ian Strong would be like just in his apartment chilling on the couch or vice versa. Like these guys were like very, 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 very close. Like a big reason KJ Duff even came to Rutgers because Ian Strong was already here. So does that make it more or less likely that he might just decide like, this is a good offer, but I'm going to see what else is going on. Rich, since you're the insider here, I'll let you take this. What are your thoughts on the likelihood KJ Duff is back next year, given this news?
Starting from the beginning real quick, just because Dave said it before, and he was asking about like being close to the locker room and stuff. And I haven't heard it from like obviously Ian Strong. I haven't heard it from KJ Duff or Antoine Raymond, but I have heard from players, and they are just kind of sick and tired of the losing, and that plays a factor too. And they're kind of like, okay, why would I just sit here and go for 5-win seasons or go to the Pinstripe Bowl every year? Like people are just tired of it. Like they want something to happen. And I think we've all been waiting for something to happen with Rutgers since Greg returned. And I get it. He had to rebuild the roster, and that took a couple years. Okay. You rebuilt it, and you have a chance at a very, very good season in 2024, and entire roster gets injured. And you're just like, shit, well, now what do we do? And then 2025 hits, and then whatever happened there, it is what it is. But in terms of KJ Duff, I'm going to say I wouldn't hold my breath. I don't think I was really confident going into offseason, and Rutgers was really confident going into offseason. Everyone we've talked to, between coaches, between people in that Hale Center, have all said they were pretty confident, but you never know until you really know. And then it just ended up happening. Like 7 figures. Like I don't think Rutgers has ever even offered a 7-figure player before, ever in any sport. 7 figures for 1 year, mind you. This isn't 7 figures for like a 4-year span. Like they're offering.
This includes 2 top 5 NBA draft picks just a few months ago.
Yeah, like 7 figures for 1 year for like literally like 365 days is insane for a college football player. And like going based on Rutgers amount last year of NIL, that's like a fifth of it basically, and it's more than that obviously, but it's insane that he turned that down. But I kind of get it too, because I don't know how long of an NFL career he would have. No one really does until he eventually gets there and sees what he can do in camp. So I don't know if he's a surefire, like multi-year NFL veteran. So you kind of got to get the money now too. And on top of that, you got to build your draft stock, like I said before. And if he doesn't trust AJ, between the money factor, the AJ factor, the losing factor, I think it all adds together. And it's just, I think it's going to play a factor with Duff too. Now that his best friend is now leaving campus, I think it makes it even harder for him to honestly stay. Now he'll still be wide receiver 1 if he stays. And I don't know how many programs can honestly in the power 4 level guarantee him that. I think he'd start for a lot of them. I don't know if he'd be a wide receiver 1 for most of them. But it's just tough. I'm not really super confident anymore.
Yeah, Greg Schiano told us back in a couple weeks ago after the season ended, you're optimistic until you're not. And obviously they were very optimistic until they weren't today.
So we're less than 2 hours away from the portal officially being open. Just to kind of give you guys a look behind the curtain, like Richie has a pretty constant line of communication with sources and people inside the program. Like, this wasn't something that was just like told to be held off until today. This just literally bubbled up out of nowhere. Like, Uncle Lenny's in the chat. He didn't know about it. He's very close to the St. Anthony's program, to Long Island football in general. Like, this was literally something that happened today. And I want to shout out Yankees G94, who just gave a super chat. He said, I'm usually optimistic, but there's no hope. We don't have the money to keep our players. We don't have the money to get transfers. If Greg can't do it here, who can? We're not finding a Signetti. I will kind of table that because I don't think that's entirely true. I think to give you an idea of kind of what's happening this offseason, they did a lot of research about the transfer portal market and kind of price ranges that they thought the players, both in the market and on the current squad, they would like to pay. And I think they're being fairly strict with that. We saw Bo Masco leave when they wanted to keep him because he was asking for way more money than they thought he deserved. I don't know if Ian Strong would have stayed if he got the number he wanted, but I don't think he got the number he wanted from Rutgers. There was as Will Wade said, it was a strong ass offer, 7-figure offer, but I think he wanted more than that. So I think they're trying to take a Moneyball approach, even though they do have more money to spend. They've closed the gap where they're not at like a 10-to-1 ratio between the top spenders and Rutgers. It's more of like a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 now. Where Rutgers is still outgunned, they're still outmanned, but that delta has massively shrunk. So you're not going to lose out on as many battles between the Wisconsins and the Minnesotas and the whoever's like we did in the past, where we're literally just like, waiting till the last minute for this, FCS player and whatever. That's not the case anymore. But I do think that they're still not in like a pole position by any means. So it's going to be to be determined whether it's the right strategy to let guys walk who are already in the program, who are ultimately always going to be a little bit cheaper to hold on to. It's like the value of a customer. It's way more expensive to acquire a new customer than it is to keep an old one. But you have to weigh that. Is that player not what you're looking for? Is that player, you know him better than anybody? Do you think he can grow into the role that you envisioned for him when you recruited him? And sometimes you just know, or you're very confident that that's not going to be the case. So I don't know, what they're doing is risky, but this is inherently risky because you're bringing in people to your program. And I think Greg has realized that maybe not everybody he's brought in over the last 12 months was necessarily a great fit. I don't know. I'm rambling here, but I think this strategy they're using is risky, but they have to take risk in order to hit the ceiling that I think they're hoping for.
Well, I wanted to ask, I guess, the question of you guys, because I was thinking about this with Corey Heatherman, right? How much would it be worth to have had him as a defensive coordinator last year? Because let's just hear me out for a second. Let's say it cost you $5 million to get him, right? Hypothetically, just throwing a random number out there, right? If that would have meant that you got 3 or 4 more wins, is paying your DC $1 million more per win? Like, does that actually put you in the positive from a revenue standpoint, or lose it, right? And so that's the basic question. And then the second question, obviously baseball is easier because it's like more statistically based, less scheme dependent, blah, blah, blah. But when you're really playing Moneyball, you got to have a number for everything. Like how much paying X player we think, how many wins over expected. Like in the NBA, they talk about like win shares, right?
Yep.
Like how detailed are they with stuff like that behind the scenes? Or is it just kind of like we don't want to be too deep in the weeds because it's just a guess, right? There's got to be some equilibrium. You can't try to get it down to like the cent. Like, oh, if this guy asks for 1 cent more than he offers, like it doesn't make sense. But like, I guess, do we have any insight inside the program about like how detail oriented they are with those sort of calculations?
This is just informed speculation, but I think it's more the latter than the former with that question. I don't think they have like, these quants behind the scenes who are giving like this guy should be worth $117,250 because there's not the same transparency either that there is for contracts in professional sports as there is in college. I think that's the ultimate bugaboo right now for college programs is that there is just like this opaqueness to everything, and everything is just like a I wish you were on the last pod because I was thinking of it. What's the name for that macroeconomic term where it's game theory? Everything's just like game theory with this right now because you don't really know what your competitors are going to be offering, and it's just like it's just a very high stakes game of chicken basically with a lot of what you're doing. So I don't think they have like people with PhD in math behind the scenes figuring this stuff out. I think it's just that they've done a lot more research, maybe hired consultants to help them with these numbers, but that's my read on it. And Richie or Alec, you could feel free to color in the lines a little bit more than what I just said.
It's just tough because like they weren't ever going to be able to pay a Heatherman type. Like they tried to get him and it just didn't work. Like Miami's it's Miami. Like you don't.
I mean,
you don't
also
turn
doesn't
down.
help that his other employer legitimately signed him to a contract extension that essentially prohibited him from going to this exact place.
But I do think what David said brings up a very interesting point because if you kind of connect the pieces where they sat on the schedule, especially like we were like one stop away defensively from winning an additional 3 games. Like you could talk about like other scenarios where we might win games X, Y, and Z, but Iowa, Minnesota, and Penn State, we get one key defensive stop, we probably win all 3 of those games. Now, if you look at where those games lied on the schedule, if we beat Iowa and we beat Minnesota, we start the season 5-0, and we're in a bye at that point. So imagine that kind of free marketing and free press we're getting for the entire month of September, leading into October. All that, like, I don't know how much that's worth in 2025, but that's certainly worth at least $5 million to be like the lead on, Big Ten Network, on SportsCenter, blah, blah, blah. I'll let you guys kind of take it from there, though.
Yeah, the winning matters. It still matters. Money matters, but we're not going to have the 1-to-1 ratio with some of these big dogs, but we've closed the gap a little bit. We're offering 7 figures to guys. It doesn't mean we've solved the money problem, but winning matters, and it's been said and it's been talked about. Culture matters, proximity to your mom matters, all these things, but winning matters. Rutgers has had now 2, and we could say 3 if you go back to the offensive problems a couple of years ago, even though we won a bowl game. End of the day, man, we've had trouble when we've had opportunities to close the gap in the win-loss column a little bit to show that, there's hope there. Rutgers, as they incrementally get better and their pipeline is full and all those things, they can start to win some games, and that promotion and hype and look at the Iowa game. Look at the Penn State game and the crowd there and the buzz around, which wasn't even what it could have been had we had a better record, and we dropped the ball literally in one of those. It hurts. It hurts perception. It puts a stink on the program, the school, and the history in general. When are they going to get it done? And when you're looking for a landing spot and there's more money somewhere else, or even if the money's not that different anymore, you're watching guys like Teray become an integral part of a defense, not just a guy who's got some money and rotates in, but a guy who's making big-time plays. Yes, it matters for the hype and the draft. Also matters for today. You're part of a team that's contending. You get to be the man at that program. It matters. Rutgers really needed to win a few more games the last few years. Some of us were poo-pooed when we're like, hey, they dropped the ball on some of these opportunities. The schedule was there for them. It's like, oh, it's okay. You know, they got to improve. They don't have the NIL. They don't have this. It matters. And we're seeing it. I think we're seeing it in the fan base. We'll see how the portal shakes out ultimately. Also, with who we can entice to come in. Also, with the DC. How much of the way that the team is run, the staffing, how their work environment is. Who wants to come here with the chances to succeed as a DC? That matters too. I'm really curious once all the dust settles where we are, because I think that the wins and losses are going to matter with who we're able to retain and bring in.
From a fan base psyche too, like, can you imagine if we like didn't shit our pants like a couple times in a row? How much, like, think of how like, most of us were at the Iowa game. The Iowa game was so tense the entire game, despite us arguably having more momentum through the majority of that game, but everything was tight. And it started because we shit ourselves on the opening kickoff. Like it was already a tight environment, but like just doing stuff like that, like we step on every fucking rake in the yard for the last 12 months. When if we just turned the fucking spotlight on, we'd see where the rakes are. We're not doing ourselves any favors. Like every single rake seemingly that we can step on, we do, which is like ultimately why it's so hard to be a Rutgers fan, because we literally just like find a way on every coin flip to have the wrong decision in recent memory. So
another great analogy, and it's an old school cartoon analogy, because that's where some of these things go. Dropping the ball, the airflow. I can't put it all on one kid, but the return, the kickoff return, like every step of the way, there's something ridiculous that happened, and it's exhausting. You start to feel like there's an outside unlucky force around the program. I don't want to digress into that. Maybe
I want to ask you guys two questions, actually. One, do we think there would have been any change to how this all went down if Rutgers was playing in a bowl game? Or it'll probably just been the exact same thing? That's the first question. And the second question is, let's say you're a DC, right? What is your expectation as to how Rutgers leads into your next job? Is the ceiling what happened with Harris-Simiak? That you get like a group of 5 job basically if you do a good job, like it, or like it, if I'm employed by Rutgers, I would hope that I'm going to just do the best I can, and I'm thinking about today and I'm thinking about tomorrow, whatever. But anyone who you're interviewing isn't thinking that way. They've got to be thinking longer term because they're not hired yet, unless they're like Chris Asher, I guess. But anybody else would be like, okay, how does this line up for me? So, like, what would be the psyche of like a defensive coordinator, like who's interviewing for this job, assuming they're even qualified? Like that's one. And then also like, would we be in a different spot if we just took a bowl game, whether it be at 5-7? I mean, obviously at 6-6, if we would have beat Penn State, a third of the things you guys said wouldn't have happened this year in terms of us, like, you know, shitting our pants.
Rich, you want to take this first?
Yeah, I think if starting with the bowl game thing, I don't think it makes a difference. Honestly, I don't think it changes much of anything. I still think they're in the same predicament they're in right now. Whether it's 5-7, 6-6, I don't think that really matters. In terms of a defensive coordinator, that's a really interesting question. I think personally, from my opinion, the best you could do is a G5 head coaching job or a power 4 coordinator spot. And just technically it's a move up if you go from Rutgers to maybe not Georgia. That's a bad example, but like Notre Dame, I don't know, something like that. Yeah. But like, I don't think you can get honestly better than a G5 head coaching spot. You have to have an insane season as a defensive coordinator, like absolutely insane at Rutgers, because again, it goes back to what I said before. There's a stink on Rutgers, like as a program. And it's like, you see it in the transfer portal. Even like Larry said before, even if they had 1-to-1 money and 1-to-1 everything, they're still going to have to pay more to get that kid, because that kid 99% of the time is going to choose the Miamis. He's going to go choose the Ohio States or the Indianas now or whoever else. He's going to choose that other program unless you pony up a little bit more. There's a Rutgers tax on every single thing, whether it be players, whether it be coaches. Like that's why you can't just go and pluck a power 4 coordinator for this DC role, because they're not going to go. They're already at a good job. Why would they do it? It makes no sense. So you're going to have to get either a lower level guy or an assistant somewhere else, or like an NFL assistant.
I think also everything's like a what have you done for me lately kind of situation in college sports. But outside of this past year, like he has done a pretty good job in his 2.0 era of elevating guys. So if you just look at like the guys who have left on their own volition recently,
Right.
Mark Orfe, he left from Rutgers cornerback position coach to being the Texas position or defensive backs or cornerbacks coach. We can all agree he's elevated his career. Drew Lascari, he left Rutgers as their safeties coach. He's now in the NFL as an assistant. I don't know his exact role, but I think we can all agree that's an elevation in his career.
Fran
Heatherman,
he went to Georgia as a same role, right?
Yep, he went as a corner or DB's coach and then got a head coaching job. I think we'd all agree going to Georgia and winning a national title elevated his career. Corey Heatherman left Rutgers as a linebackers coach, becomes a defensive coordinator in the Big Ten. You could all agree that's elevation of career. Joe Harris-Simiak left to be a G5 head coach from Rutgers defensive coordinator. I think we'd all agree that's an elevation of his career. And that's just in the last 2 years. I mean, this past year and a half, 2 years of football in terms of defense has been an absolute shit show. Nobody's arguing that. But Schiano has shown, you're going to come here and you're going to help yourself elevate the career. Unless you have the worst defense of all time, then you're probably going to get fired and have to drop back down. But even a guy like Colin Farrell, he had a pretty nice soft landing spot. He's in not the Power 4 anymore, but San Diego State's going to be in the Pac-12. Vic Hall landed at Virginia Tech. Like these guys, it's not like they're falling into like D2. So I think what it mainly is like the stink is on Schiano, because the coaching community is a very incestuous, tight-knit group, and like everybody knows what it's like to work for Greg. Like everyone has some sort of like Kevin Bacon, like not even 6 layers of connection. It's like everybody has a buddy who's worked for Greg and can go to them and be like, what was it like working for Greg? And they'll all say, fucking sucked. He works you like a dog. You're going to get yelled at. You're going to get dressed down, but you're going to learn something. And you stay there for a year or two, and you're going to be a better coach after it. It's just, it sucks. It's like being Marine boot camp from what it sounds like. It's not for everybody. And that's, in my opinion, why it is so hard for him, especially on the defensive side, for him to find coaches in the 2026 that actually want to work for him.
Good point. And I've heard the same in coaching circles, just in general. We've all heard it. It's not a secret. It's a tough gig in those ways. And yes, you can certainly, there's a long list, Mike, you went through them, of guys who have made careers pretty well off that coaching tree later on. And then they've connected to other coaching trees and found their way. But if we're struggling and the personnel isn't there, and Greg's going to ride you that hard, and
the NIL is not top level. Yeah. There's a lot of things working against this role. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. You got to find almost a diamond in the rough, Mike, who wants to trade that work-life balance or whatever you want to call it for you'll be a better coach. Some of these guys who feel they've gotten what they could out of that Rutgers gig or whatever gig, and they're on a higher trajectory, they might opt against that. Some of these guys we really need with the experience, with the pedigree to come in here and make an impact. Maybe they're turned off by that. I know we're kind of going in a bunch of different directions, but I think it all figures into the overall feeling and vibe around the program right now. And I'm still really curious. The staff hires and retention and who we get. I've said it a lot. We've all said it, but it's going to go a long way. And then once that settles one way or the other, you got to win. You got to take an incremental step forward. You don't have to be Indiana. No one's asking for that. You got to take an incremental step.
I looked into how long it took. I brought this up on the pod, but how long it took programs in the FBS last year to hire their defensive coordinators that had openings. The average time it took a program was 19.2 days last year. For a Power 4 program, it took on average 17.2. It took us 62 days. This year, of the roles that have been filled so far, it's taken on average about 6 days for FBS programs. Rutgers is on day 28 right now, I believe, of the opening. The longest it's taken anybody to find a DC is Boston College, and they hired what I'll call the Ubermensch version of Rob Smith and Ted Roof, who just like continues to find a way to grift program after program, despite having really just like one good year under his belt. So I mean,
thought that was Andy Boo. I thought he was the ultimate.
He's still out there. He's
still available. So it's knock on wood, it could be us.
Oh my God.
But I just want to point that this is like a pretty uniquely Greg thing. Like maybe he's not the only coach struggling with this, but like it's clearly his process isn't great. Whatever it is, there's something that is amiss there. And
Well, that's what I was going to ask as my follow-up question is like, if I was a defensive player and I could go to a bunch of different places and I didn't know who my DC or position coach was going to be, I'm not going. Okay, how much are they paying me? But I'm older now, so obviously I'm biased about like, people quit jobs because of their boss, not because of their pay more often than not. But that my biggest concern with this program as we sit here right now, almost nearing 11 o'clock p.m. on New Year's Day, 2026, is like, how far is this setting us back in the transfer portal? Like, because we don't have defensive staff in place. It has to matter. The question is how much. I mean, I guess it's better than having a bad person hired that everyone like is the Adam Gase hire in the NFL where it's like everyone knows is going to flop like that. The worse than Rob Smith, like in terms of the vibe when he came back. But that's my biggest concern for this team is that would you guys agree? Is that your biggest concern as we sit here right now? Or is it still just overall NIL budget or something else?
It's a tough one. I would say my biggest concern right now is retention more than anything. Like you don't want to go into the new year. Like you're going to go into this season with an entire new defense already just by default. You have 3 starters returning. One of them is Moses Walker, who's injured half the season. Another one's Kosh Sanders, who was ranked arguably the worst safety in all of FBS. So you're going to have an entire new defense already. It's just all these kids care about is money. Like it's the first question. They walk in the door for a visit now, and they walk up to the coach and they're like, "All right, cool. Like this is cool. Like this, you have the same weight room that everyone else has too. Like that's awesome. Wow, I never saw this before. You also have a game room. Whoa, that's crazy." Then they walk in and like, oh no, but that's kind of talk numbers now. Like what's going on? Like how much are you going to give me? Because that's all that matters. Like half these transfer portal visits that are going to happen starting tomorrow are all nonsense. They walk in the door, they say, all right, cool. What's the dollar amount? What is it? Give me the dollar amount, compare it to my other dollar amounts. Done. Here we go. Ready to go. I'll don your scarlet and white now.
I think what you're getting at, David, is the kernel of it is there's just a lot of unknowns right now in the program in a time where you don't want to have that much uncertainty, like uncertainty around the entire defense from top down, from who's going to be calling the plays to who's going to be coaching the players to who the fuck are the players, because as we've seen, they're leaving in droves and we don't know who basically 20 of the 22 on the 2 deep are going to be next year. And that's an exaggeration, but it's more than half. It's not a plurality. It's the majority. And then at the same time, like, does Shiano still have it? Like, can he actually get us to a place of sustained success? Or have we already plateaued at like 7-5 on the easiest schedule we're ever going to see in the Big Ten? So I think there are just so many unknowns that it feels like we're on like a stool that has it has 4 legs, but all 4 have something wrong with it. One has a screw loose, one has a visible crack down the middle, one we've duct taped together and we don't really know if it's going to stay back up. And we had termites in the house last year and we don't think it got to the stool, but the whole thing might just fall apart at any moment. So yeah, there's just too many unknowns right now for any of us to feel comfortable with the czar of the program.
Is the duct tape one the safety's position? just curious because I feel like that's the one with the termites, right?
That's the termites. It might just disintegrate into thin air.
What do you guys make of some of the comments that I was hearing on the board and whatnot? Is it I don't know. You guys tell me if it's valid or not. There's so many people post all kinds of things. Like Eric O'Neill might have said something. Walker, like what does that say? Because I thought that was interesting. Like, wasn't O'Neill excited to come here and wanted to come here all the time? And I know it wasn't a great season for the defense, but I don't know. Is that showing some kind of fissure in the locker room with respect to the staff or the school, or are they just giving props to their boy to go out and get the bag? Like what does that say?
Yeah, as the resident young person in the room, I would probably lean towards the latter more than the former. But that's just like I don't know any like the dynamics or anything like that. But just going off of what I know as a person who is currently 24 years old among other 24-year-olds, that's I would lean more towards the latter.
I trust you. That's good.
Yeah,
I
at
trust you,
least
bro.
from from what I can tell.
Yes.
I'd say the same
I
thing.
appreciate
Yeah.
that. I need that.
It's just like every Instagram comment. Like you go on Instagram and like girls do it all the time, honestly, and it's just like, yes, queen, like yeah, go get yours, like yeah.
I don't think anyone said that.
Clap
like,
here, a couple hearts, like oh,
2017.
True.
you're so beautiful, like and it's like, dude, like people just do this on Instagram just to like, I don't even know anymore. Like
I get it.
Social media is stupid.
Yeah, I get it. That clarifies for all the message board, boomers out there. We've now clarified what we think that is. All right, so relax.
Yeah, I think it's just the not generation isn't like speaking to a specific generation, but like the athlete generation is just like everybody's more of supporting a player and their individual decisions more over like their team or their own kind of situation. Like he's your teammate first, not your, or he's your friend first, not your teammate first kind of situation. You're supporting your friend versus, upset your teammates leaving is kind of the distilled version of looking at it. The same reason why there is seemingly like never any animosity, even after like a Super Bowl. Everyone's dapping each other up, laughing it up. Like, bro, you just lost the most heartbreaking game of your life. And some players are devastated by it. I'm not saying that this is I'm not trying to make an overgeneralization too much, but largely they're just like shaking hands and like chatting it up. Like really the event didn't just happen, which I find hard to believe just from like even, rec and travel ball experience for me. Like when I lost, I did not want anybody near me. Like I would shake hands, but I'm not going to like yuck it up with anybody afterwards if I lost. Like I got
into fights during like beer pong at like barbecues with my best friends. I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah.
You're leaning, bro. What are you doing? I mean, really.
It's different. Times are different. That's gotta accept it.
I get it.
We didn't really touch on the positives that came out of today, so let's touch on those. Gobi Asamoah and Tyler Needham have announced that they are returning for next year, who are both longtime starters along the offensive line. So definitely big, not additions, but they're big news to keep them in the program because especially Gobi Asamoah, really has stabilized. I think the right guard slot for a long time. Tyler Needham's kind of started almost everywhere on the line in his career, so he's a valuable piece, even if he's not going to be a starter, which I expect him to. But what are your guys' thoughts on retaining those two offensive linemen?
I love it. Go ahead.
I'll take it. We talked about this a lot heading into this past off season, which is there were times where Rutgers had 2-3 offensive linemen in the program that had started on a team that won a Big Ten game. Fast forward to this past offseason, and we had, I guess, 6 guys that had done that. And it doesn't necessarily mean that those guys have to be your starters or that they have to play, but it's basically like you're just slowly but surely raising the level in those rooms. And that's kind of how I see this whole situation happening on the offensive line. You got a new offensive coach for the offensive line, and I think he might be very aggressive, which is going to maybe turn certain guys off, maybe not, but he's going to get the best out of somebody. And the fact that Needham has played on both sides, games that they've won, you've got Dante Chin, who may be better suited to guard. You got Taj White. You got Kobe, who, maybe he plays guard and he's not like amazing at pass blocking and run blocking, but he's solid. That at least gives you the floor of an offense, because if the old cliche, it's rarely do you hear about an offensive, a team that has a good offensive line that is a bad offense. Like that is almost impossible, right? So the fact that there's just guys in the program who have played, Ryder Langsdale, if he's healthy, great. If Blackston or Jaden Elijah, we talked about, like, we need some of the younger, more like physically gifted guys to step up. If they can beat these guys out, great. But at least you know that you will go into next year with whatever it is, 4, maybe 5 guys who have started and won a Big Ten game for your program, assuming that there's no like other weirdness that happens. But that's kind of how I see it. Like we have to not grade on a curve, but it's worth noting where we were in the past and how this situation is drastically better than that.
Agreed. And look, Andrew Adams' post, a comment in the chat, I think it bears some relationship to what I'm going to say, which is when you look at this team, you know, we're looking at a lot of the things that have, you know, kind of made us bang our heads against the wall and the deficiencies. One of the better revelations over the last few years really has been the stabilization to some extent of the offensive line play, and the running game has just been dominant at times. And, you know, these running backs are excellent, but you don't get dominant unless you have some semblance of a offensive line that can maul guys. And these two pieces, I think, go a long way in keeping that somewhat solidified. You ask about Strong leaving. I mean, I think this team, regardless of whether Strong was here or not, was going to rely heavily on Raymond. And Raymond is going to be the featured weapon in this offense. That's how this team wants to play. That's probably how they should play most of the time, except when you counterpunch, when teams make you do it. But I think it is worth noting that those two guys announcing they're going to stay. Needham is a jack of all trades at this point. Asamoah holding down the interior there, and they've done well at times. I think it goes a long way in kind of some positive, right? You know, something to hang our hat on, to be a little bit optimistic, and just some good news that I think is substantive. It does matter that they announced, and I think that is one bit of solace we get a little bit tonight.
I think there's a couple of good things about it too. Like Tyler Needham, like Dave said, he could play left tackle, he could play right tackle. He could just you're probably going to bump him the right tackle if I had to guess, and let him compete with Taj White. See what happens. Winner gets the job, basically. This is also about building depth, and returning both those guys is depth. And it's a lot cheaper to bring back a Needham than going into the portal and finding some guy from the lower levels that you have no idea what the hell he is. Like, they didn't know Giwa was going to be this solid. It was a guessing game. You're taking a kid from Long Island. It's just like you're playing, you're gambling at this point. And you're just like, all right, maybe he's good, maybe he's not. So now you bring him back and Needham. Asamoah, I know there's coaches that I've talked to in the Hale Center that they think he has NFL potential. He was originally brought in to be a center. Obviously, that didn't end up working out at the time, just for whatever reason. I'd be curious if he goes back to center this year. Is that kind of crazy to say? Just because, like, Hank Sawinskis is there, but we also don't know what Hank Sawinskis is either. He could be Gus. He could be just as good. He has Power 4 starting experience, but we don't really know what he is. But either way, you still have a guy coming back and a starter in Asamoah. You're already losing one guard, so at least you brought back one, and you also brought back a swing tackle that can kind of just fill in gaps if need be. Because we saw injuries happen left and right to the left tackle spot this year. So
yeah.
And I think building off of something that Dave said, it also just can help build, because you need leaders under a new position coach as well. And obviously we know the background of the new position coach at certain times, but I mean, you just need guys in that room that are going to be leaders, that have experience, that, know what they're doing and know what they're talking about. Even if Needham doesn't start, he's still going to be a valuable part of that, offensive line room. And like Richie said, it brings in depth, because if an injury hits one position group, it really hits it seems to, over the last couple of years. So yeah, it's also safer. Like Richie was talking about, it's safer than trying to gamble after going after a portal kid, and cheaper at the same time.
Yeah, it also doesn't preclude us from going after portal guys. I think we will target offensive linemen in the portal. It just adds a little bit more of a higher floor when you don't have to, like, not only land potentially starters, but also guys who are your 6th or 7th linemen. Also, you feel like you have those as a floor. Maybe not for Kobe. Kobe's definitely gonna be a starter, but Tyler Needham, you feel pretty good about in a pinch. If you get 2 better starters, he can go in and be that swing tackle. Or if the guy you bring in as a starter, let's say Mogiwa develops into the starter you hoped he would be. If he's out for 2 games, you feel like pretty good about Needham stepping in to fill in for him. We do have a bunch of super chats, and I do apologize for not getting to these quicker, but I want to post these up because we really appreciate you guys donating to the channel and having things to say. Yankees G94 had this to say. He said, being a Rutgers fan feels like Charlie Brown never kicking the football. Yeah, no, I think I do have some Peanuts Rutgers gear now, because they did a collaboration, which is really cool. Actually, I have one on my desk back there. I'll get it to the basketball shirt. I'll show you guys. But it does feel like that at times, doesn't it? It's just never actually getting it. Here you go.
I love it.
One of them. Yeah.
The air fumble is the ultimate Peanuts. Like,
yes.
I'm sorry. I just what am I doing with my life?
And we got Glenn Lipkin, 4345, with the $50 donation. Glenn, you're too kind. We really appreciate you donating that much to the channel. He said, I'm a loyal fan. I listen often, and I'm on the boards, but don't go crazy. I really appreciate all you guys do for the community. Appreciate how you keep it real. I'm a basketball donor as well. And as always, trying to keep the faith after 40 plus years. It is rough. Yeah, you could say that again. I haven't been a fan for that long. I haven't lived for that long, but I can only imagine the added stress that would be on my life if I had an additional 20 years as a Rutgers fan added to what has already seemed like a lifetime of sorrow as a sports fan added to it. And we got another super chat for Yankees G. He's just making it rain in the chat, and you guys can feel free to do the same, but you don't have to. I'm just kidding. Yankees G94 said, whatever happened to the $100 million Murphy gave Rutgers for facilities? I don't believe that was all cash. I think some of that was tax incentives. I think some of that was tax credits. I think some of it was a grant. So there was some direct funds, but I mean, that stuff gets spent as soon as it comes in the door. It's not like it's sitting in an account waiting to be used. That is earmarked immediately. So I don't think that money is around anymore. It's been put into some brick and mortar. It's been put into some salaries of some kind. Rich, you might know better than I about that.
I know previously, like we're talking middle of the 2024 season, or actually at the end of it when basketball season started, they were handing out pamphlets to donors that said, we have $50 million earmarked towards the football facility. We need your help to get this. Here's your sponsorship packages. You could pick this XYZ, donate 10 million and get your name on some shit, whatever. So I sounds like from what I was told is that there's still some money in the bank waiting for a facility. What it's going to be used for, I don't know, but I know the Jersey Mike's contract's also coming up and you have to renovate by 2028, I think it was, or 2029. Otherwise, Jersey Mike's has the right to get out of the contract at that point. If they do renovate the arena, it was either renovate or rebuild the arena. By that, they are able, I think it extends the contract for like 3 or 5 more years, something like that. I got to go back and look at the finer details, but so they do have to use this money like ASAP. So I know there is some still left over. I don't know how much of the 100 mil is coming back, but just have to kind of just wait, I guess, at this point. Like Kelly hasn't really talked about facilities other than with us on the pod. The only thing she's really said was, we're going to fix the Jumbotron in the 100 level seats. That's pretty much it. But I do know the football facility is back in play again.
Oh my gosh. Pistol Pete said jewelry for the gymnastics coach. Oh my gosh. Jason O said most of the 100 million went to feasibility studies and conceptual renderings. I think he's being a little sarcastic there. I just felt like that was worth highlighting. Glenn said, thanks for all you guys do. Once again, appreciate you, Glenn. Michelle had a question for you, Richie. Did Rutgers purposely announce the news of Needham and Kobe returning to counteract the Ian Strong leaving? I'll let you take it. I have a feeling on this, but
I kind of think yes. Like I don't know for a fact, but like that doesn't that's not significant.
You were told, you asked specifically, are we going to get some kind of I'm back posts, or are they just gonna like be on the roster in spring? And they told you, what did they tell you?
It was, I forget the exact legit. You remind me just because I've told you guys.
So you were told basically that, like, from what I understand, that no, we're not going to do that. They're just, they're going to be back. That's not how we do things. They have,
obviously, if they want to, they can go do it. Like, I have a feeling these graphics were made relatively quickly. It's not, yeah. Honestly, yes. If I had to guess, it's yes, like 100%. There's no way that just, and it's not like it's breaking news, but they just needed some kind of ounce of good news to just throw it out there and just be like, okay, hold on, change the narrative. And it didn't really at all, because it's like the only thing you could have announced to change a narrative was out of nowhere. KJ Duff's like, I'm staying, or Antoine Raymond saying I'm staying. And the fact that neither of them has said it yet is, again, it's a little concerning.
Really is. Yeah.
I'm going to do this favor for Glenn because he donated to the channel. I'm going to take my Eagles hat off. I'll put a different one on because I appreciate what you did for us, Glenn.
It's that easy.
It's that easy. Donate $50. I'll put on a different hat. How about that?
Jeez. Did I ever tell you the one guy on the board sent me a hat?
Really?
No.
Remember that?
Oh yeah, the Irish hat, right?
The Irish hat.
Yeah,
He's
I
like, you
remember
gotta wear it
that.
on the pod. What's your address? And I was just like, whatever. Here you go. Probably shouldn't be doing that, but
We should set up a Patreon for different tiers. We will wear
Different
different
outfits.
hats.
Yeah, this sounds like soon we'll be like eating hot dogs. Yum, yum, yum. What's that? Is that mukbang? No, that's not mukbangs. What's that phenomenon where they just like will do whatever the emoji tells them to? You guys know what I'm talking? You have to know what I'm talking
I
about.
know what you're talking about, and I know the
I
mukbang
unfortunately,
thing. And
yeah.
It's
there's
like a
like a really-
TikTok trend. Well, they'll have like
They'll,
a
like,
screen of
emote.
emojis coming at them. Yeah. And it'll be like candy flying at them, and they'll be like, so yummy, so yummy, so yummy, and they'll just have to say something different for each emoji. We're getting off the rails here.
All right, guys, we are debuting our TikTok live feature. Be sure to smash the like button.
Oh my god.
oh jeez.
Well, I'll ask one more question. Would it make sense? And this is a little crazy question, but would it make sense to just go all out in the offense? Like, I know Strong's is probably gone, right? But just put all money in transfer portal, all that, and then just defensively be like, all right, we're going with guys we recruited out of high school. And I think it's a crazy idea, right? But if you establish that and players knew that, perhaps that would help your high school recruiting. I mean, I don't know if you could promise that in a contract or something, but it's like, what is there like a Moneyball like idea that's out there that nobody's tried yet that Rutgers could try?
I do like where your head's at here. That I still think you need to have success. Like if you just put out like another version of the 2025 defense with your own homegrown recruits, I don't think that's gonna look well on you. But I do think it. Like you need to have the right. Like if we had Corey Heatherman this past year, we like to kind of circle back. I think we could have won more games and had more success on defense, but I still think it would have been hard cap. I don't know. I think it's an interesting concept. I don't want to just like meander through it and out loud if anyone has any concrete thoughts on that.
It's very interesting. I mean, the defense can't get worse, right?
Hold my beer.
I mean, that's the biggest thing, that it comes down to coaching. I mean, that's a lot of the, I guess the way you could moneyball it in football. It comes down to who you have coaching your guys and how you coach them up. So I think a lot of that is going to depend on. Also, I was just about to actually mention that Coy Parrish is entering.
That's crazy.
I know for a fact where he's going.
All right, Richie knows things. Where's he going?
He has he was there. I got a little tidbit actually. Hold on, I'm gonna pull this up because I got a tidbit of a guy I know at Minnesota. He was Minnesota's highest paid player. He was responsible for almost 30% of their team's budget.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
For a safety?
He was getting paid somewhere around $5 million a year.
Wait, what?
I'm sorry, $5 million total, not a year.
Okay.
I read that wrong. Yeah,
Still.
I was gonna say that's like more
read
than
that wrong. My
that's
fault.
more than Carson Beck.
That's more than
Now, the rumor supposedly from the Minnesota staff member I know is that LSU has the biggest bag on the table by far for him.
Oh yeah.
So
that'd be a good fit.
It almost makes
That just sounds like a Bayou name too.
Coy
Got that
Parrish.
ball,
he's from Minnesota too. That's the crazy part.
Yeah.
Like there will
new Tyrann Matthew.
So honestly,
that fan base will love that guy up. The South loves nothing more than like a white skill position player.
there's gonna be like koi fish memes and stuff.
Yeah.
That's a car fish right there. That's that boy. What's his name? Kelly down there.
Brian Kelly just making up accents.
Core Parrish is in my family.
I would always be curious. Like, you think if he got the Rutgers job, he'd just walk in and be like Tony Soprano?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
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 You haven't eaten a gabagool lately? All right, we're gonna get this thing going. All right.
That's just such a weird thing to do. Like,
It's so weird. It'll never not be weird. It'll never not be discussed. It'll never not
everything
be
he does is weird. Remember the stupid camera thing? It's like pointing at the rotating camera, like with like a 6'4", 380-pound defensive tackle. Like,
And remember when he killed that kid?
which one?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Just ridiculous.
Anyways,
This is the world we
there
deal
was-
with, guys. Yeah, but
there was something that someone asked in the chat a while ago. Actually, I apologize, I don't remember who, but I feel like if we're getting towards the close here, I guess now might as well just call our shots now.
Not this one.
No, not that one. I mean, if we had to say right now, percentages that the other two of the big three, Antoine Remy and KJ Duff, to return, I guess we'll call our shot now as of 11:03 p.m. on January 1st, 2026. What percentage are they to return next year? We can go both or one or the other. I don't know.
I would separate them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
separate it 100%.
Yeah.
That's not my guess.
All right, let's start with
Um,
Raymond then, because I feel like Raymond's the more likely of the two. Richie, let's have you start the trend because you're probably the most plugged in on this.
Raymond returning, I'll say 75% chance. Because I just don't know how much money he can realistically make. And he knows the offense. He fits the system. He's very close with Demir Shaw. His family loves Rutgers. Like they loved him enough to literally come to a practice and say, "Hey, is there any chance we can just like say screw it and enroll a whole year early? like we trust you. We want to be here." And yeah, it's at 75%. There's like a little tidbit that's saying like he could leave, and I don't think he does, but I think there's a slight chance he still could.
Josh Tellum has it at 80%.
I got it at
for
about
Raymond
70.
to return. You got it about
I
70.
got about 70 for a lot of the same reasons. Like, I don't see, like, I feel like Rutgers will be willing to, compensate him at least to what the market probably will. Maybe not like the outliers in the market, but I feel like at the very least, if the money's even, I don't see a better situation for him than what he has now at Rutgers.
And while I don't think that there has reached like a market equilibrium that like that the NFL has seen, where they kind of everything has kind of fallen into a groove, especially with how the franchise tag like kind of polices salaries in the NFL. I think there's still like an emotional attachment to players in college where you want to keep your guys even if it costs you more than you'd like. But running backs still command far less than a top receiver, a top defensive end, a top quarterback, top corner. So I do think given the relatively lower price as opposed to Duff, and given that he knows exactly what he's walking into in terms of his role, I think I would say at like 80-85%.
I got it 75 too. Yeah. 75 because I just want to give that quarter shot that some team that's alluring for name or for whatever reason, now they've seen what we've done with Pacheco and Monungai, and they're like, this guy's a beast, and they'll throw however much money. But I think it's as good a situation as any in college football to be the featured running back at Rutgers. The past two guys, you're also eating off that success when you go to the draft. They're going to pay you, I think, close to, whatever the market rate is, if not beat it. And you're featured. Why would you go anywhere else? But I'll give that 25 because he hasn't announced yet, and you never know what's out there. But I think there's a better chance than not he's going to come back.
Yeah, I mean, George made the point as well in the chat. He's got carries. The other thing that no one has brought up yet, I'll just say it's probably, 70, 75, maybe higher, hopefully higher. The other thing to keep in mind with running backs, a lot of it has to do with their age. And since he's so young for his grade, really, like, there's a good chance he can go to the NFL, and he's still young, that his draft stock would be high, and he'll have more time to like catch on with the team. Because for running back in the NFL, it's like finding the right situation, and very few guys are just good on any team, anywhere, anytime, like a Derrick Henry or something. But I think because he's young, he's going to have opportunities there that he doesn't have to totally get his bag right now, which would be the main reason to leave. But sorry, somebody, like you guys said, somebody might just dump a bag. Like, let's say there's a new coaching staff in place and Penn State, Virginia Tech, somebody, let's say it's Virginia Tech, and James Franklin's like, we need a bell cow. We need to run the ball next year. Boom, boom, boom. Here's this huge bag of money. I mean, it's always possible.
Yeah, if the bluest of the blue bloods decide we can't leave this offseason without Antoine Raymond and we're willing to pay him $3 million, he's gone. Like, that is just the reality of the situation. I think it's unlikely, but I do think he's one of the best backs who will be returning for the college football season next year, without a doubt. We got another super chat from Sean William 2017. Thank you very much, Sean. Great chat. Raymond can make money at Texas. He could also make money at Rutgers. This one's the tougher one, though. KJ Duff, especially given what happened today. David, you were the last to go. I'll let you start this time. What do you think the odds are we hang on to KJ Duff for next season?
Before Strong left, again, I'm not as close to you guys, but I'm just saying from an outsider perspective, really.
Do you want to let Richie start then? And he can set the tone?
I would just say coming into, I'll throw it. Whatever. I'll throw, I would have said 50% going into today. And now it's got to be 40, maybe lower. Somebody is going to offer him $2, $3, $4, $5 million. Easy. And so the question is even if he's like Richie had pointed out, even if he's not your wide receiver one, he's huge. His measurables are great. He doesn't need production, right? He has 1,000-yard season under his belt. Like, if he goes to, let's say he goes to Florida, right? They got a lot of turmoil over there. And he's like the number 2 or number 3 receiver. But then he comes out at a pro day, measures in at 6'6", and runs even a 4.6. Like, it doesn't matter what his production was in 2026. And so for that reason, he probably doesn't need the bag. But the difference between if he can get 3x at another school from what Rutgers can offer, you got to take it, I would think. As much as I hate to say it, and I'm knocking on wood because obviously I love this program, but I would say 40%, maybe lower. Unless they already had this discussion behind the scenes, like Strong knows, hey, they're going to allot this amount of money to the two of us. I'll let him have all of it or whatever, something like that. It's got to be below 50.
All right, Rich, I'll let you go next here since you're the insider amongst us. What do you think the odds are?
I want to say probably, I don't want to steal David's answer, but like I was thinking 40% before he even said it. Like I'm not smart. We just like, something about great minds think alike. I don't know, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, he's right. Someone's going to pay him a lot of money. Like the rumors were like he was going to get paid like 1.5 around there. I think he's going to get more than that. I think if he goes in the portal, he definitely gets more than that. I don't know exactly what Rutgers is offering him, but if they offered Strong in the 7 figures, you got to assume he's probably getting well in the 7 figures, if not more. Well, I mean, you can't really say more than 7 figures, but you know what I mean. I'm not as confident. His best friend's gone, and it's the quarterback situation that really gets them. Like he's also going to look for his draft stock because he's going to be a draftable player after next year. Does he leave after his junior year? That's to be determined. We really don't know what he does this next season, but if I had to say what he's going to do, I would say he's probably gone. Like he has so many connections elsewhere too. Like he chose Rutgers over Miami, very, very close to choosing Miami in the end as a high school recruit. He was very high on it. He played 7-on-7 down there. He has friends down there, family down there. Like he was very close to going to Miami. The other one is, I don't think they would do this just because they recruit at such a high level and skill position, like wide receiver, you can get on the field early. But he's very close with Julian Sayin, who was on his 7-on-7 team with the Miami, I think it was Miami Raw or whatever it was. And they traveled the whole country with that same team. So he's very close with Julian Sayin. I know when they played, like the two of them took a photo and like posted on Instagram together, like boys for life or something. So like, I don't think Ohio State would do that. I don't think they'd go after him, but who knows? In this new portal era, like it's insane. He's going to get so much money. It's like hard not to imagine him leaving at this, especially with his best friend now gone. So 40%.
How about you, Alec?
It's tough. Like in theory, now that Strong is going elsewhere, they should have the money to maybe pony up and keep Ian Strong. But the big dogs are going to big dog, for lack of a better term. If they're going to offer stupid amounts of money, then they're going to offer stupid amounts of money to all over the place. So I'll probably put it at around like I'll be the optimistic one. I'll put it at like 45. I think also I know saying optimistic
And then going
implies I wasn't-
5% up. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but this isn't kind of like for he could be looking at his draft stock, but also kind of like what Dave said. He has those, outlier type measurables, and this also isn't his last shot like it is for Strong. So maybe he has a different line of thinking than Strong. That's kind of where my faith comes from, I guess, for the relative faith, considering I said 45%.
All right, Larry, what are your thoughts?
I was gonna go 40, but since you guys did it, and since Alec tried to claim the optimistic ground by still being less than 50, I'm just gonna go ahead and say 50. Hear me out. Here's why. Look, after the Penn State loss, I was pounding the table every show I went on that Duff is gone because he pops on the tape. He pops in measurables. He pops in the highlight reel. He gets fan bases excited. He gets coaching staffs excited. He gets quarterbacks
Gets the
excited.
people going.
Yeah, bro, I thought he's gone. He's gone. Here's the thing, though. He hasn't said anything yet. It's the 11th hour. I know it's not really the 11th hour because they got a whole week or whatever it is, 2 weeks, whatever it is. But he hasn't said anything. The staff knows. They strategically, they put out these two linemen are staying. Right now, there's discussions happening. There's talks like you stay because of this or that. Here's the money we're going to up. Don't listen to anybody else. And I was worried watching Miami. Yes, Toure bothered me, Heatherman, all that. But what I was thinking about was Duff because I was like, what's he thinking? He was close to going to that premier big-time legacy program, and look where they are. What's he thinking? How much does he love Rutgers that pulled him to go there in the first place? How much of that is independent of Strong? How much does he love it now? How much does his family love it? And how much does he not really love it? We don't know. If he likes it and does feel some sort of loyalty, and they're beaten in that table right now with the killer negotiation instincts up in the price, do not leave, kid. You're our guy. Maybe there's a better chance he stays because the conversations are happening right now. And it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's 50-50. Can they prevent? Why hasn't he said it yet? If he's going to go, he's waiting to hear from everybody. It might be a coin flip at this point because he knows what he can get out there. I mean, they talk. It's all floating out there. He hasn't said anything yet. I'll be a little optimistic. I'm not really optimistic, but I'll be that guy and hope I'm right later. At 50%, not really optimistic.
I'm gonna be, I guess, the optimist who's just kind of like the Bart meme, like say the line. He's coming back. I'm gonna go 50%. I think he knows what he's got here, but this is significantly lower than I would have said 2 days ago. Even I think you really have to kind of be careful if you're going to be a Moneyball program as well. That let's say they decide, fuck it, we can't leave this offseason with both Strong and Duff leaving. We thought between the two of them, we could keep them both for 2.5. Strong decided he wanted to leave. So let's spend 1.75 on Duff just to keep him in-house. Then that kind of sets every big player afterwards. You have to spend at least that much on. And then all the other players know, because they all talk, Duff's making 1.75 and I don't even make $1 million. Like I was, this and that. It kind of creates, and that's what's so tough is to kind of keep this all together. It's just like everything with each, pressure point you put on one side, it pops something else out on another place. So you have to worry about the precedent it sets going above and beyond maybe where you were originally comfortable going. So I don't know. It's definitely not a position I envy being.
The counter to your point, though, is he has proven production. He has a 1,000-yard season. Yeah. So you can actually leverage it in the opposite direction if you're using your brain. But yes, guys are going to think they're better than that. But you can point to and say, like, this is what this guy did for us. So, but I think you have to come up with some way of retaining. I know, like in the pro ranks, like sometimes you just got to overpay just to keep guys around for the fans and to show that like we care. I think they're going to have to pay him over $2 million to stay. Just guessing based on like, I'm sure Florida will offer him $2 million. I'm sure Miami will offer him over $1 million for sure. I know I'm closer to their NIL situations than I am to Rutgers. So South Carolina, they'll offer him that much.
Yeah, and it's like what your definition of overpaying is not necessarily the definition of overpaying for a school like South Carolina even. Like $2 million to add a 1,000-yard power forward receiver, that's a no-brainer in some schools. Whereas for Rutgers, it is a point of consternation. So, yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's not a great place to be where we're at right now. We got 1,600 people in this stream at 11:20 on New Year's Day.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's hard to ask this question now because I feel like everyone's going to have probably the same answer. But someone brought it up on the boards. If you could only keep two of them, like you're guaranteed to keep two of the big three, who do you pick? I think that like it's kind of obvious, right? Like
who is it? Because I don't know if it's obvious.
We'd all say Duff and Raymond.
Yeah.
I would have. I think I did say it in some places, and it wasn't a knock on Strong. Just the way Duff emerges one thing. If you watched him even the first year, I mean, the kid just had it, and he started flashing. You know what? I forget what that first game was where Ethan threw the pick. Where he started flashing, man. Like he just has it, and then Raymond. It's just such an integral part of your offense. So it has to be Raymond one way or the other, in my opinion. And then it's between the wideouts. Not that Strong isn't really good and hasn't been really good, but Duff is just an athlete. Strong's a dude too, bro. But Duff, I mean, I think you would want those two, but I don't know how much that figures into what happened. I don't know if it has anything to do with it or not. Maybe it does. I don't know. We're hearing Strong didn't like the number. That wasn't the full story, but I don't know. What if he's like, I'm the alpha? This is my dude. I love him. He's my best friend, but he came in under me. I mean, I've been in a situation. The dude is my boy, but I'm like, bro, and we've talked about it. So I don't know. I
think if you were to give me two coupons that didn't have a price attached, but you could get the value of whatever that was, so I would keep. Nice. Yeah, exactly. I would keep Strong and Duff because that, from a value standpoint, you're getting the best bang for your buck because Raymond is going to cost probably less than those two. But if you're talking about like impact on the team and what's behind them, I don't think there's a suitable replacement behind Antoine Raymond the way that there is. I feel a lot more confident that we can replace a guy like Ian Strong in the aggregate with the current wide receiver room that I don't feel is available in the running back room. That's kind
of something else, though, Mike. To your point about the wideouts and the bang for their buck, we have a quarterback coming up who we have I liked what I've seen. I haven't seen nearly as much as you guys. I liked what I've heard, but he's going to need some reliable guys out there. The more talent that he has to throw to, the better chance of success. So, we're going in with really stacked wideout room. If we are to lose these two guys, that just sucks with the quarterback. We want him to be set up to succeed. The running back still helps. The room still helps. But those guys with their catch radiuses really help. So,
well, the other thing though to keep in mind is we've already lost Sam Brown and CJ Campbell. If both of them were back, I think you could have weathered a loss of Antoine Raymond. He's good. Don't get me wrong. He was the best guy in the running back room. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, but let's say you took Antoine Raymond out of the equation. Let's say Antoine Raymond got hurt instead of CJ Campbell, hypothetically speaking, right? Let's say he gets injured against Norfolk State. What's their record? 5-7?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying he's not. You take KJ Duff, if he gets injured, you probably lose the Purdue game. You
definitely lose
Purdue game. Sniff the Penn State game at all. I mean, you maybe still win the Maryland game.
I don't know.
You definitely don't win any games you lost. I mean, that's kind of okay. Now let's say it's Ian Strong. Let's say Ian Strong doesn't get injured and he plays the rest of the season, healthy, the whole way. What's your record then? The other thing before you answer that question, why I would put say Raymond and Duff is because if they get hurt, you have them for an extra year. I know Strong could have a medical redshirt too, but that situation would become more tenuous potentially. They have more time that if they were to get injured, that you got them back for another year if they want to come back.
Yeah, I think the pool of talent in the portal is something that also needs to be kind of discussed about there being more running back talent available. And you've seen like guys at a lot of lower levels take that step up and be productive at the G5 and P4 level. Like, I'm not just going to like bring outliers up, but the production is pretty tangible, or not tangible, it's pretty replicable from lower levels to higher levels in the same way that like it's like, can you hit this hole and get the 4 yards in front of you? Not can you separate against, instead of a 5'10" receiver, or sorry, a 5'10" corner who runs a 4.7, can you get that same separation against a 6'2" corner who has, a crazy wingspan who runs a 4.4? It's not the same apples to apples situation like you can with a running back. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thought experiment that I think for our purposes isn't really super relevant because one of the guys has already kind of made his mind up. I don't know. I think it's more likely than not that each of them individually returns, even if it's barely with Duff. But I think we're all kind of also in a down mindset right now with how things have gone. We're now 35 minutes away from the portal officially being opened in what I expect to be an absolutely insane day tomorrow. Like I don't think we're all kind of, not all of us, but collectively college football understands how insane it's going to be, given that there only is one window now, and given that this 2-week window opens up and you couldn't even officially enter in any way, shape, or form until tomorrow for the most part. So I don't know. I think all of this is just a very big calculated risk from all parties involved, and we'll see if it works out. But we have been on for an hour and 37 minutes now. Do we want to do like kind of our final thoughts? I know, actually, along with final thoughts, we do got some nuggies about the next few days for Rutgers. Rich, if you wanted to kind of talk about any of that, or not talk about any of that because it's on the boards.
I don't even know.
Well, there's going to be guys on campus.
Yeah. Yeah, leave it for the boards, actually. We already confirmed one visitor. We know there's probably going to be at least one more, if not multiple. I would be shocked if there wasn't multiple. Kids can start, or kids, I don't even know if we call them kids anymore because they're like 22-year-old transfers. But yeah, they're going to have visitors on campus starting tomorrow. I expect commitments probably as early as this weekend, maybe potentially tomorrow, because like I said, these visits are kind of nonsense visits for the most part. Like they check out the facilities, talk to the coaches, just get a feel for things, talk dollar signs, and basically handshake, we're done. Can I have a graphic? Thank you. Like that's pretty much it. So yeah, they're going to start hosting guys tomorrow. Again, I think there's probably going to be a commitment pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, we've heard that the Rutgers is from around the way and they're leaving with something this weekend. Let's just say that.
Basically.
If you know, you know.
Yeah. I question that one a little bit, but that's besides the point.
But we have one Irish goodbye from David, who has to attend to his flock. But I think that's where we're going to cut it off today. I'm sure we'll have something to talk about tomorrow. There's a lot still that needs to kind of be resolved with what's happened today, and I expect more details to emerge, and that will of course be on the board. So if you're not a member, Richie, what's going on right now with the Night Report? Can I, if I wanted to join the boards, what's my deal? What can you hook me up with?
This is like a perfect plug. Anyway, just nightreport.com. You check it out right now. It's 50% off for the transfer portal window. I don't know what the dollar sign is. I think it's like $50 for the year. So you sign up now, you get all the inside scoop. The roundtable forum is a buzzing, as you just kind of alluded to earlier in the pod. I think there's like a 12-page thread, Alec, was it?
It might be even longer at this
It
point.
might be longer now, yeah. We do that. We have Asked the Experts. That's going pretty insane now because everyone's asked the same question about Ian Strong. Tidbits about Ian Strong, like everything that we already talked about on the pod and more is on the message boards. A lot of the premium stuff, like we don't reveal on the pod. Go on.
It's still at 12 pages, but it is at 455 replies and 21,000 views, by the way.
Yeah. That's only going to grow when people went to bed early and wake up and they're like, what the hell? So, yeah, every like tidbit known to man, whether about Rutgers athletics, whether it's basketball, football.
Who do you know that went to bed at 3:45 p.m.?
Is that when it happened?
never know.
3:45?
Yes.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's New Year's Day. Everyone's probably sleeping in, and if they're not sleeping in, they're trying to sleep that hangover off. I can speak from personal experience. I didn't sleep in, but I was trying to work through the hangover today. But that's what another beer will just fix all the time, right?
Always.
Every time. Yeah.
And some of us got to watch basketball today.
Yeah, that was a weird choice.
Certainly
Start
was.
my new year off on a bad note.
Things are going to be different, right? They took their New Year's resolutions to heart.
They were so close. Can we? Alec, I commented on your post because you posted the fans, and I'm sure you saw it. Why is there just two
Yes.
people in like, or maybe it's more than two people? I think it's like 4 or 5, but like there's like a family just sitting in the 200 sections, and there's no one else in the 200. There's so many seats. Let them go down to the 100s. Like,
I looked.
there's no one there.
I looked at like the third or fourth quarter. Excuse me, and I'm pretty sure that there was no one left at the 200s by that point.
Also, who's the UCLA women's coach again?
Corey Close.
Yeah, she got pissed at not having media out. See, we send a media member to these games, even if they are stinkers.
Come hell or high water, there will be a representative from the Night Report at Rutgers women's basketball games.
Well, even though this is somewhat on topic, we are going off the rails here. Any final thoughts that anyone's got that they want to spit out there? Speak now, or we're gonna cut the stream. As
We got an
you
Irish
say.
hello or Irish
Yeah,
return.
Irish.
Rutgers basketball plays tomorrow. I don't know if that's a good thing.
Yeah, if you want to go for the Oregon game and do some recruit watching, you know where they sit. They sit in the student section. You can bring your binoculars, and that might be more fun to watch than the basketball on the court.
Ohio State.
It's Ohio State. Sorry.
Or you could pick up a basketball if you're around mid-30s and have kids to feed. You're
You needed-
we want you.
Speaking of which,
Oh yeah, we didn't mention that guy. They're down to the final 3 for 25-year-old what's his name, Kyrie Walker, who shot like 16% from 3 for his career
I was
post
gonna
high
say
school.
Yeah, I was gonna say Dave, but that
Good
works
Lord.
too.
Oh, that works too. That will fix it. Get the guy that can't shoot to the team that can't shoot.
The last thing
I
I'll
do-
say for football, right? It sounds like it's depressing, but every school probably feels that same way right now because they've got players entering the portal. Maybe it wasn't today, but I mean, not just the Minnesota situation, but everybody is like, what the heck? Except for a couple teams that are the ones that have the bags that are just like the LSUs of the world. Again, maybe Florida, Ohio State had a tough day, obviously. But there's only a couple teams that are really probably feeling good about themselves. Everybody else that's like middle tier, Power 4, or Group of 5 probably feels like absolute trash also because they got bad news about somebody that they thought was staying. So, I mean, I think that the foundation of this program might not feel as strong as it was 365 days ago. And as college continues to evolve faster than Rutgers can keep up, that might not be great, but it's still not the worst situation in the Power 4 like it has been several times in my lifetime. So,
Yeah.
again, I'm not trying
look
to
at-
say like this is great, but at the same time, there are other people feeling the same exact way. And there's been plenty of times it's been worse to be a Rutgers fan than right now in football anyway. I don't know about basketball. We'll get to that.
I mean, look at Nebraska. They've had some big time losses, including their supposed Wonder Boy quarterback.
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
yeah.
legacy,
Yeah.
right? His
Yeah.
dad played there. His
And
dad
his
coached
uncle
there.
was the
His
offensive
uncle
line
coached
coach. They
there.
fired his uncle, and his younger brother was committed. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, crazy. Also, shout out to sticking with football. John Perry just got elevated to full-time wide receivers coach at Texas A&M, former Rutgers assistant.
Congrats.
Johnny
Shout out
Shepard
John
is
Perry.
also entering the transfer portal from Washington State in case they need some depth in the quarterback room.
Marfo.
Nah,
Kobe
good.
Marfo.
We're
I mean,
we're
I would
good.
take him if he's coming on to be a backup. Like, well, why not?
He wasn't good when he was here.
Well, you're not bringing in a guy who hasn't played anywhere, expect him to be good.
No, but he went to Washington State and somehow became like QB5 because they had like 4 other scholarship quarterbacks in the portal.
Yeah.
It's just there's so many bad decisions too. Like
True.
even like Ian Strong's decision could end up being a bad one. It could end up biting him. We don't really know how
Yeah.
it's going to play out. I think I'm really intrigued to see where he ends up because that could be very interesting. Like if he ends up at a big name school, I think a lot of people will be like, all right, whatever. If he ends up at Illinois, it's like, okay, hold on, wait,
He's
what
not.
the fuck?
I feel like
they got money and
I
they're
don't
winning.
feel like he's going to end up. I think he's going to end up somewhere that's a step up
I think so
for
too.
Rutgers.
But,
Or like widely seen as a step up, rather.
yeah. So
All right. Well, for reals, this time we're gonna head out of here. I want to thank everybody who's joined us for this hour and 45-minute live stream discussing, for the most part, Ian Strong, but a lot of topics. We'll be back probably tomorrow if things happen, because we always try and cover you guys when things happen. I want to thank our sponsor, FanDuel, once again, and thanks to David. Thanks to Larry for hopping on as guests. But for me, Richie, and Alec, this has been another edition of the Night Report podcast, signing off.